Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. My name's Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon right across from me.
What's up?
It's Tuesday, June 4th, and today we have our very first mock draft of 2019.
I'm pretty lit, I can't lie.
Pretty pumped. One of my favorite things to do with fantasy football is freaking mock draft.
You know, it's funny.
It's kind of stupid, but I love mock drafting.
It's not stupid because
it keeps me away from getting into 400 leagues.
It does. Oh yeah, because then you before your like big regular draft that you do with all your buds, you want to get prepared. So you go to NFL.com and you join those like random leagues just to draft.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you're stuck in like 10 leagues and you have to pay attention to all of them. Well, mock drafts are awesome though. They keep me entertained.
1 year I had 12 leagues.
Oh gosh.
I paid attention to all of them.
You know what I used to do when I was extremely crazy and had no time on my hands?
You mean all the time in the world?
Oh, well, yeah, that's true, yeah. I would do it like 10. I would max out my slots on ESPN. And then I would max out all my leagues on NFL.com. Then I would go to Yahoo.
Oh,
I would do 3 different websites and just filling the maximum amount.
I love how Yahoo was like
leagues
last.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry for everybody who plays Yahoo. Because there are a lot of people that do Yahoo, but
They love Yahoo Sports.
ESPN should probably be last, though.
Yeah, it's not very good.
It's the easiest one to like join, though. I feel like
that's very true. The newer ones, Sleeper, which is what we'll be using today for our mock draft, and Flea Flicker are
AKA the hood ones.
The hood ones, yeah. No, those are 2 very, very good platforms.
Yeah,
they're way better than the mainstream ones. Before we get into our mock draft, we're going to get into the news. But before we do that, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram. On Twitter at the FF Champs, on Instagram at the Fantasy Champions. Go like us on Facebook at facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions. Subscribe wherever you're listening. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever. Click the bell for notifications on YouTube. Please go on our iTunes. Well, iTunes doesn't exist anymore, but go on our Apple Podcast and leave a review. That would be spectacular.
That would be
5
lovely.
stars. Nice little write-up. Auto-corrected. Fixed. Make it sound pretty. Mm-hmm. Share this podcast with your friends. Let's get to the news first. Ian Rappaport has reported that our good friend, somebody who I feel like my take is getting hotter as the season goes along, and it's making me extremely angry because Todd Gurley is reported by one of, he's like the second best reporter in the NFL, probably, I would say, behind Adam Schefter. Mm-hmm. Ian Rappaport reported that Todd Gurley will probably not be a workhorse back anymore. We have already seen the backlash everywhere. I just heard from you that Todd Gurley is now ranked 16 in ECR.
Yep.
Just from that one report. Now, Ian Rappaport wasn't, I don't know if there were sources behind that because he said probably not a workhorse back. And he also used the words anymore. So it feels like that was more opinion than it was reporting. But
I think it's kind of you just being like,
I really don't want this to be true.
I don't want it to be true either. But
no, I think here, I after I heard this, I needed to figure out, a little bit of information on Todd Gurley, and I went and I took 25% of his. I just prorated out 16 games. And I took 25% of his carries away from last year, and even with 25% of his carries taken away, he had 220 to 230 fantasy points. So if he only touches the ball 240 times, the guy is still going to put up an insane amount of fantasy points.
But is he top 10 though?
Yeah.
Is he worth a first round pick?
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, he's worth a first round pick. Yes. He's
what
not
if it's,
going.
What
to
if
be.
It's closer to like 40% of the snaps?
If he's only getting, because before I think he was getting 60. I think he was getting 70% of the snaps. I would believe. I'm not entirely sure, so don't take my word on it. But if he gets down to like 55%, it's a little bit concerning, but it's still, I don't know. I still think the way he produces
he does. People forget how good he is.
Yeah, like if he played all 16 games, he would have led in standard and half PPR by 40 or 50 fantasy points over the crowd. And so it's like, it's crazy to think that this guy went from that to all the way down here because of arthritis in his knee and that report and all that stuff. The whole storyline has been crazy over the last couple months, and we can't go over it, but it's concerning. It is concerning that his knee does have problems. Now, I came up with a perfect strategy to implement.
Oh boy!
If you feel the urge to draft Todd Gurley, if you draft Todd Gurley, you have to go out and get Darrell Henderson as his Darrell Henderson with all this reports. He has literally become maybe the best handcuff in fantasy football.
Yeah.
And so,
well, what if they split carries?
If they split, then you're screwed. But if Todd Gurley comes in and gets 60% of the carries, like he gets a reduced workload, but he still gets a good amount of work.
He's still Todd Gurley.
Yeah, he's still Todd Gurley. Because my concern has been not necessarily that Todd Gurley's not going to produce this year. It's the fact that Todd Gurley's not going to get that he's going to be injury prone and he's going to start he's going to be out 5-6 weeks.
Right.
If that's the case, then you have Darrell Henderson to back him up because Darrell Henderson's talented, and behind that offensive line, I mean, who knows what he can do. But I think that would be my plan: is draft Todd Gurley, get his handcuff Darrell Henderson later in the draft, and sit there with those two guys. And if Gurley goes down, you still got a Gurley-like player on your team. Of course, he's going to be a smaller version of what Gurley is, but if that knee really is a problem, and if these reports are true that he's not going to be a workhorse back, then, you know what I mean, then it would be a good situation to have them all around. But my big problem with all of this is that at the Super Bowl, they were saying that Todd Gurley was going to be like the focal part of the offense. Then in April, they said he was going to be the focal point in the offense. They went out and drafted Darrell Henderson. They didn't use him in the Super Bowl. So now it's getting reported that they're not going to use Todd Gurley as a workhorse back. Do you think that their Rams are just playing in? They're feeding their sources to Ian Rappaport and saying, "Hey," I hate to sound like local talk radio, but to say, "Hey, Todd Gurley, he's not going to play as much as he used to get people to think like that and other teams to think like that, just to bring him out week one and use him."
I mean, I think that's a possibility. So you should definitely keep that in mind. But when Ian Rappaport is reporting this,
it's not
like it's like a local beat writer,
he's had a bad track record the last year, but
it's still Ian Rappaport.
Yeah,
a bad track record for him is getting like 3 things wrong.
3 takes wrong, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, once this news came out, I was like, because I've kind of been on your side, where I'm like, if Todd Gurley falls in the draft, like, you have to take him. It's Todd Gurley. This puts a little bit of a take alert, I think, on these takes.
Yeah, it's concerning. Just as the offseason goes along, and as mini camps happen, as training camp happens, as preseason happens, keep an eye on Todd Gurley, because he's not going to play a preseason game. That's not going to happen. So you got to keep an eye on him. See, watch the organization. And we got to move on. Watch the organization, see what they do, and see if anything they're doing is making sense as far as Todd. Like, if the running back that they drafted, Darrell Henderson, ends up being the 3rd string running back on the team, then that would tell me that Todd Gurley will probably be okay, because Malcolm Brown's not going to come in and take snaps from Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
So just keep an eye on the situation. I personally think Todd Gurley is going to be okay. For right now, is I would think that he probably finishes, top 6. That's a lot saying from me.
Okay.
Like that. But
See,
if he ends up
anymore, honestly.
If he ends up in the 2nd or 3rd round, then that's a great pick.
Especially a 3rd round, I think, if Todd Gurley is there in the 3rd round, you have to take him.
Offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, I think I said that right, stated that Damien Williams is their starter and won't go RBBC.
Are you crying right now?
No. I've really wanted to hate Damien Williams, and now I'm kind of like, I might have to just eat my own. I'm getting all the takes wrong right now, and it kind of sucks. Damien Williams is a guy that I don't really fully like. I don't think everyone is treating him like Kareem Hunt. He's just not that. And I think they're going to realize that when the season starts. But still, the way that the Chiefs use running backs, if he is the guy and he does not lose the job, my concern is that you draft him in the 2nd round, 3rd round, right? You get Damien Williams on your team. And then he loses the job 5 weeks into the season, like Spencer Ware lost the job the last 4 weeks of the season. You know, you have that situation happen. Then you drafted Damien Williams with your 3rd overall pick. Like that is just, I'm staying away from him because I don't know what he's going to be. Like, you know, he'll probably get, 200 half PPR fantasy points in the Chiefs offense. Like, that's probably going to happen.
It's like, I've been saying this.
If he doesn't stay on the field or he loses the job, that's the risk you're taking.
That is a concern, but what I've been saying is for the last month or two, when you've been down on your boy Damien Williams, he's going to get all the opportunity in the world. Yep. In a Chiefs offense that thrives off using running backs and just overall weapons on offense, in an Andy Reid system with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, I feel like he's going to succeed.
Yeah.
Now, as you said, the chances of him losing the job, for example, that can be a little bit of a concern. But if he's playing well, which chances are he will if he's the starter in the Chiefs offense, he's probably not going to lose his job.
It's one of those things that if Damien Williams were to go out first 4 weeks of the season, have a decent start, right? Darwin Thompson's the 3rd guy, or say Darwin Thompson rises up to be the 2nd guy on the roster. You know what I mean? He wins the 2nd string job, and Carlos Hyde is sitting behind him. Say that happens. Damien Williams, 5 weeks into the season, he hurts his ankle, and he has to miss a month, right? Then you put Darwin Thompson, he comes in. He runs like Kareem Hunt. He pass catches like Kareem Hunt. He's basically reincarnate Kareem Hunt. Now Damien Williams is sitting here, and
I don't know if that would happen, though, because
even like Carlos Hyde, too, though. They're both the same age. They've been in the league the same amount of years.
Carlos
Hyde is a more productive version of Damien Williams. I think Carlos Hyde is a better running back than Damien Williams.
He's not as explosive.
Damien Williams was like a 6th or 7th round pick, and Carlos Hyde was a 1st or 2nd round
pick. If you're
pick.
just talking about just pure running the football, I think Carlos Hyde's probably better. But for fantasy purposes, he's not.
I'm bitter.
I think you're a little bitter.
I picked up Spencer Ware last year and ended up being Damien Williams. Bears, a tight end, Trey Burton, underwent hernia surgery and will miss off-season workouts. A little bit concerning, but he is a tight end that will probably land on the waiver wires after your draft.
And it's just off-season workouts anyway.
He's one of the sleeper tight ends that I'm looking at later in the draft to kind of, fill out your team. Possibly a guy who might turn into, a guy that finishes in the top 10. I don't want to say any particular names because I'll get made fun of. But he could turn into a good late round draft selection at tight end. But at the same time, it doesn't really, it doesn't hurt anyone. It's not like you lost a top 5 tight end.
Like I said, I don't even think that's a big deal anyway.
It'll be all right. Terrell Pryor signed with the Jags. Boring signing of the week.
Yep. He's probably not even going to be used. Probably will be cut.
No, true. And I got this news today. I don't know if you heard this, but Austin Seferian-Jenkins has been cut by the Patriots.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He got cut today because apparently he asked for a month off for family reasons. So they cut him.
And Bill was like...
Yeah, they were like, no. So everyone that was excited about seeing Tom Brady and Austin Seferian-Jenkins connect.
Yeah, all you 4 people.
Yeah. He's done. So that's all we got for the news today. Let's move into our mock draft. We're live mock drafting today.
Oh, boy.
Being prepared for the draft is important, and we will show you how we draft in particular. So here's how it's going to work. I am going to take the first guy.
Of course, the easy pick.
And then you will take the second, and we're just going to keep switching off as the rounds go on. We are drafting one team.
We're co-owning a team.
Co-owning a team.
Just heads up, if we ever did that, I think I'd probably destroy you and end up murdering you by the end of the draft.
Yeah, probably. In case you're wondering, we are doing our draft on Sleeper, and this is not a paid advertisement.
It could be.
It could be. So let's get started with the mock draft. The first 3 guys that we had off the board, Zeke Elliott, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, as expected. Mm-hmm. The order of these 3 guys has been kind of interesting as the season goes or the off season goes along.
Yeah.
Because I've seen Saquon go 1. I've seen Zeke go 1. I've seen Alvin Kamara go 1. Last year it was like Todd Gurley. Like if you didn't take Todd Gurley, you were an idiot.
I think Barkley is I think a majority of people would say Barkley's the number one guy.
Right.
But you're gonna see plenty of drafts where Zeke's going 1, and you're even gonna see a lot of drafts where Kamara goes 1.
Oh yeah. By the way, we're picking 4 in our mock draft.
So we have the 4th overall pick, which is a pretty good spot to be in if you're picking number 4 in your league. I think you'd be pretty happy.
Yeah.
Considering
we're going easy on the first one.
I'm stuck in we just did our draft lottery, and I have the 10th overall pick. So.
Yeah, I got number 2, and I don't know if I'm happy about it yet. Zeke goes 1, Kamara goes 2, Barkley goes 3. So we're sitting here. We have Christian McCaffrey, Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, among other options. For me, this is a difficult pick.
See, it wouldn't be difficult for me. This is why we're butting heads.
Obviously, we're not going to take a wide receiver here. That's not going to be an option. You want to start your draft with a running back, generally speaking. And when you go late in the first round, if there are no running backs that look enticing, draft a wide receiver if you feel like that. Because if you're at 108, 109, or 110, you're going to flip the next round to be the earlier pick.
Correct.
So you'll be able to get a running back.
I think if you're in the top 5, probably even top 6, you got to take a running back.
You got to take a running
Especially
back.
in this draft where there's clearly like 5 or 6 really good running backs at the top. You got to take one of those guys.
Right. So the choices are between Christian McCaffrey for me and Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon, they're not the same player.
No.
And Melvin Gordon is injury prone. So I kind of have to take Christian McCaffrey, even though I don't want to.
Do it. Come on.
I will take Christian McCaffrey.
All right. The safe pick.
The safe pick.
And the pick that I would have done as well.
Christian McCaffrey, he's a stud. We all know that. The reason why I would take, because I have Melvin Gordon pretty high on my draft board, and I love Melvin Gordon.
He's pretty high too. I mean, he's jumping up there.
He is jumping up there. So, but the reason why I take Christian McCaffrey is because Melvin Gordon is like guaranteed to miss 2 or 3 games. Christian McCaffrey has never been hurt. Right. So I will take the guy that's going to be on the field the entire season as opposed to the guy that
could miss your first playoff game out of the blue with some illness.
Exactly. We have Melvin Gordon going 105, David Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins, Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Adams, James Conner, Todd Gurley, Michael Thomas, Joe Mixon, Julio Jones, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Travis Kelce. Nothing is really surprising here. I've noticed that David Johnson is kind of rising up in the draft boards. But DeAndre Hopkins, not surprising. Devontae Adams, my word. I keep saying that wrong. He's good. Le'Veon Bell, James Conner. That's basically how you would expect the top 10 to go.
Right.
And then you go into the second round. Todd Gurley is where this is starting to drop like a rock. Todd Gurley goes pick 201. And then Joe Mixon's the only other running back in the second round so far taken. So basically you have a little bit of a run going on with wide receivers. The surprising pick at 206, Travis Kelce. It's a little bit high for Travis Kelce,
I would not,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I like Kelce too, but second round to me is just middle of the second round's a little too
now
high.
You got the team with Melvin Gordon and Travis Kelce is now sitting here with no wide receivers.
Right.
And they're not going to be able to pick till 305. So you got the pick here, boss, at 207. Who you got?
So here, in my mind, we got Odell Beckham, who's available. We got Dalvin Cook, Antonio Brown, Nick Chubb, Damien Williams, your guy, Mike Evans, Adam Thielen, T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah.
I do have some options here. In my mind, we just took Christian McCaffrey. So unless there's a running back that I'm really eyeing here, I'm probably going receiver.
Okay.
And there isn't a running back at this point. Like, if Joe Mixon was here, I'm taking him.
Yeah, but you're right.
But he went 213. So right now it's like Dalvin Cook and Nick Chubb, and I'm not a huge fan necessarily of either of those guys. So I'm a big fan of Odell and Antonio Brown. So I think it comes down to those two guys to be the WR1 for our team, and I'm gonna go with Odell Beckham Jr. Because he is my guy. We talked about him a little bit when we were doing our wide receiver show, that I am crazy lit about Odell Beckham Jr. this year.
Yeah.
I think he's I think with the Browns offense as a whole is just going to turn up.
Right.
They're just going to get lit. And he instead of having Eli Manning throw the ball to him,
right,
he's having Baker Mayfield throw the ball to him, which I think is an upgrade. And I think, if they used all those assets to get Odell, they're going to use him. And they're going to use him a lot.
Right. So the way I look at this is it's kind of like, I guess, when you're looking at, if you wanted to tier certain guys, right? You would have the top, basically you had the top 10 running backs go off the board. That's basically your tier 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
And then you look at the wide receiver position and you're at tier 2 of wide receiver. So do you want to jump down to tier 4 or do you want to stay in tier 2 of jump down to tier 4 of running backs, or do you want to stay in tier 2 of wide receivers at this point where you actually have, a high-end player that can actually produce? I don't necessarily disagree with the pick. I would have said if Joe Mixon was on the board to go Joe Mixon.
I would have got Joe Mixon too. That's why I brought
it up. But when you're talking about guys like Damien Williams, like you're jumping into like tier 4.
Right. That's what I'm right.
Williams, Freeman, Cook, if you want to put Josh Jacobs in that conversation, you can. But there is a lot of guys that you could make a mistake on there.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook has been injury prone. Damien Williams, we talked about that earlier, the question marks for me. And then Nick Chubb in a half PPR league, I've been kind of fading him a little bit because Nick Chubb, to me, is not a great option in a half PPR. He can't catch the ball. He just runs it. Now, he's a good running back, but that's why he's 301 in half PPR. It's as simple as that. So Odell Beckham is a good pick.
Oh, thanks.
I'll give you that. Damien Williams was 208, 209. Antonio Brown, Dalvin Cook, 210. Nick Chubb, 301. And then 302 was Marlon Mack, and then Mike Evans at 303. Now, I'm frustrated because Marlon Mack's my running back.
Yep, that was your guy who just got picked.
That's my guy that just got taken.
So our current team, by the way, right now, we have Christian McCaffrey and Odell. Those are the only two guys on our team right now.
Right. So for me, at this spot, I would usually look to go running back.
Yep.
As of right now, with Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, and Marlon Mack off the board, we have a couple of options at running back, but not too much. ADP 25 right now is Leonard Fournette, and Devonta Freeman is another guy that is going off the board a little bit early. My problem is that with Fournette and Freeman, they both have injury problems.
Yep.
If you draft them and you put them as your RB2 on your team, then that might end up hurting you in the long run.
Right.
The other running backs going off the board, ADP 30, Derrick Henry, 32, Josh Jacobs as well, 32, Aaron Jones.
And I think you get into a different tier.
Right. You start dropping into a different tier. So now you have to start thinking about, do you draft your second wide receiver at this point? Because a lot of wide receivers have come off the board. And do you want to wait? Mm-hmm. The thing that I've been kind of thinking about in fantasy football or in drafts, especially for this year, is that in round 4 and 5, you can get your wide receiver too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as of right now, picking at 304, I think we have to go running back. But
I agree.
I just don't know who to go.
See, there's a guy I know who I would take here. And no, it's not Patrick Mahomes, even though he is available.
Wow.
But yeah, currently it says the top guys available going by ADP is Adam Thielen, T.Y. Hilton, Mahomes, Fournette, Zach Ertz, which is an interesting option, Devontae Freeman, Keenan Allen, A.J. Green. So you have some options here. Who are you going to go with?
I don't want to, but...
Oh, that's never a good thing to say before you pick a player.
When you're sitting there and you go, I don't want to do this, but I'll do it. I think I'll have to go Leonard Fournette.
Okay, good. Yeah. Thank you. That's who I was going to get. If I'm in that slot, I don't even know if it was close. I would have definitely gone Fournette there. I think Fournette... I was
thinking about Thielen.
You're right about Fournette being... Oh, Mahomes kind of fell in the draft. Sorry, it's going by. Fournette is a guy who I think you're right about the injuries.
Right.
But when he is out there, people forget how good he is. And I think he's one of... It's hard to call someone going in the third round a sleeper, but I think he's kind of considered a sleeper.
Right.
Going late third round in a lot of drafts, I think he can be, maybe even a low-end RB1 by the end of the year.
Yeah, no, I really do like Leonard Fournette because he has a ceiling. He has a very high ceiling. He had a stretch of games last year where he was very, very good, and so I think he's a very good running back. But his problems have been injuries and attitude, I guess. And so for him, it's kind of a risky pick at 304, but he can be an RB1, which for us, both of us looking at a fantasy team, we want our RB1 and RB2 on our team to be finishing in the top 10, top 12. And so if you get that you're building your proverbial super team. T.Y. Hilton at 305, Adam Thielen at 306, Devonta Freeman 307, and we got Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Zach Ertz, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, dang it. George Kittle, Patrick Mahomes, and A.J. Green, also a guy that I would have taken
going in the fourth
spot.
round.
Going in the fourth round.
Yeah, this is a part of the draft where I'd be so mad at everybody right now because I'm sitting here in the fourth round, and the guys I would have looked at was like Aaron Jones.
Right.
I would have looked at Mahomes here. I would have looked at A.J. Green. All those guys just went off the board. So now I'm sitting here.
Thank God Mahomes went off the board and you didn't pick him.
I probably wouldn't have. If A.J. Green was there, I would have definitely taken A.J. Green in the fourth round. Are you serious? Yeah. Come on. A.J. Green in the fourth round?
Yeah.
People are sleeping on him, too.
I think his problem is he had a very serious foot injury. So
it is concerning. I get it. But he was like right there. He was right below Julio for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
He was going mid-second round.
Yep.
And he has one.
I took him last year in the second round.
Yeah. And now all of a sudden he's a mid-fourth round pick after an injury. I get he has injury history, which is why I never liked him in the second round. But as a fourth round pick, I kind of like him. So I'm sitting here with Sony Michel, Stephon Diggs, Kerryon Johnson, Phillip Lindsay, Edelman, Mark Ingram, Brandon Cooks, Andrew Luck, Chris Carson. Some other guys, Aaron Rodgers is available. This stinks for me because all the guys I wanted just got picked. So I'm in a very tough spot. So typically in this situation, we have two running backs and a receiver. I think
trade out. No.
If your league can have it, I definitely would. This is kind of an interesting spot. I'm debating hard here. Is it Kerryon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm debating hard between Kerryon Johnson, Stephon Diggs, and Mark Ingram right now. I know Mark Ingram was tad off the board, but I'm a huge fan of him this year.
I don't like Mark Ingram this year.
Really?
Yeah, no, I don't.
We picked a different. I'm not going to take him, though. I'm actually going to go with for the first time, I think we disagree on a guy. I'm going to take Stephon Diggs here. To complete the team, we have now Odell, Fournette, McCaffrey, and Diggs. That's a tough pick. I'm not crazy about Diggs, but I think Kerryon, I don't mind him either. But what we've been saying, C.J. Anderson, bro.
Yeah. And
trusting the Lions. I think Diggs is probably the safer pick there, but the guys I wanted all got off the board there. So,
yeah, it gets difficult.
Especially in this part of the draft.
This is why you need to show up to your draft with a sheet of paper. You need to watch the other teams and who they're drafting and make sure you're paying attention, because if you allow this kind of thing to happen to you where you're sitting there and you're anticipating, oh, I want Aaron Jones, oh, I want A.J. Green, oh, I want, Keenan Allen or Patrick Mahomes. And you don't get any of those guys at your spot, then you need to be prepared for another situation. Now I probably would have taken Kerryon Johnson and then waited a couple of picks because we did have receivers on the board. So, we didn't get hurt too bad. Sony Michel, Phillip Lindsay, Mark Ingram, I think they're all guys that have bust potential this year. And I don't know if they're going to be very good. The Detroit Lions offense is a little bit scary, which is why I'm a fan of Kerryon Johnson, but I'm nervous to take him that high in the fourth round. But I think his upside is like RB1.
It is. I mean I don't know about RB1, but it is high. That's why I was also debating about taking him in the fourth round. I think that's just a tad early for me. Yeah.
So I'm gonna do it. To you. This is a man who I have been in love with since the draft. I predicted that he would go to the Chicago Bears. And I love David Montgomery. He's a freaking awesome back.
This is what I get for taking a second receiver.
It's true. I'm going to take David Montgomery here at 504. It's a little bit early. I would normally take a guy like him in the 6th round, but as of right now, where we sit, there's not a lot of running backs, and I like to put my running backs in, my flex. I'd like to put running backs in my flex position.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you're at a better opportunity to get more fantasy points. A lot of people draft wide receivers and put them at their flex and then sit there and hope they turn out to be really good, and that doesn't happen. David Montgomery, I think he's going to be the guy. He's actually going to I think he's going to take work away from Tariq Cohen. I think that he's going to be the workhorse back in the offense that the Chicago Bears want, and I think that he'll be a 3-down back. He'll get that production, and with the opportunity that he has with the Chicago Bears, I think he can turn that into RB1 potential. If you were drafted that high in a draft with that much talent and you're getting the opportunity, it's going to turn into fantasy points. So I'll put David Montgomery in my flex all day long.
Okay. I'm a little nervous about that pick. This is why we can't share teams, because I don't mind Montgomery, and I do like his upside. It's just there's a really good chance he might not even be the starting back.
Yeah.
So to have him on my flex would make me nervous, but the upside is there where...
He's going to be the starting back. Sorry. Mike Davis blows.
I think he will, but I'm just saying there is a legitimate possibility that he won't. So here, it's very interesting. Now we're in the 6th round. Our team is McCaffrey and Fournette and Montgomery at running back. Mm-hmm. We have Odell and Diggs at receiver. So now we're kind of in an interesting spot. We don't have a quarterback. We don't have a tight end.
We don't need one until the 10th round. Don't even think about it.
And we can start filling out the bench, too, if we take another running back or receiver. Yeah. So
I know which guy I would take here.
Okay, I got Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley, Tariq Cohen, O.J. Howard, Tyreek Hill, which is an interesting guy, Eric Ebron, my boy Tyler Lockett, Baker Mayfield, Hunter Henry. So some guys that are available. I have a guy in mind, and I'm just curious, who is the guy that you're thinking of?
Calvin Ridley.
Okay, that is one of the guys I have in mind.
I like Calvin Ridley.
I like Calvin Ridley too.
Chris Godwin.
But I think the guy I'm going with here is the guy you just said, which is Chris Godwin. I'm pretty high on Chris Godwin because unlike Calvin Ridley, although actually Calvin Ridley does have Julio Jones and Sanu, so I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But I think Tampa, those guys, there was a few guys in that offense that lit it up last year. They no longer have Adam Humphries.
Yeah.
And that's big. I mean, he was a big target in that offense. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to throw the ball just as much, if not more, than they did last year. And they threw it a lot last year. So I think Chris Godwin's going to be huge. And not to mention, Deshaun Jackson also left. So they're losing 2 of their top 3 receivers. Chris Godwin's now the number 2 guy there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty high on him. I'm not sure if I'm willing to start him, but as our first bench player, I'm pretty happy with that.
One of the things that I'm looking at when I draft, after you get past what I call the structure of your team, the first 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Once you get past that, then for me, rounds 6 through 10, 6 through 11 is the building blocks, the guys that you think could break out, the guys that that if like a guy like Stephon Diggs does what he normally does and he's completely inconsistent, you can say, oh, Chris Godwin's good. We're going to take him. We're going to put him in that spot. And I would have taken him there. I probably would have taken Calvin Ridley just because of the sheer volume he's going to get.
I was debating between those 2 guys, for sure.
But I think you can go either way with those guys. To be honest with you, I was kind of hoping Ridley would fall to 704 because if he had, we could get Chris Godwin and Calvin Ridley and not even have the discussion. But the next few picks, 608, Baker Mayfield, tight end Eric Ebron at 609, 610, Calvin Ridley, 701, AJ Howard. OJ, wow. OJ Howard. Matt Ryan at 702, and Tevin Coleman.
So we still do not have a quarterback and tight end. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, keep that in your shorts. So there's some options here. Tariq Cohen was ADP 55, which was around earlier, but I'm not going to draft him because I don't like Tariq Cohen.
What about Tyreek Hill?
Tyreek Hill
probably be out of the league and
probably pass. So 2 of the guys that I'm looking at this point, you're starting to, like you said, build that. Like we were saying, build that that bench with guys that could possibly break out. And there's two guys in my mind that could do that. One I like more than the other, but one I actually think has a better chance of. It's tough. It's between DJ Moore and Tyler Boyd. Now, DJ Moore is on his team as basically him and Curtis Samuel are the only wide receivers. He's a very good wide receiver. He's a first round pick. He has the opportunity to break out and be a wide receiver 1 this year, and a guy that you can get in the 7th round as a wide receiver 1. That's awesome. Tyler Boyd is another guy that if he gets the volume in a Zach Taylor offense, and he came from the St. Louis Rams, Los Angeles Rams, every time. The Los Angeles Rams. He came from the Los Angeles Rams in an offense where they passed it to 3 guys who finished as top 15 receivers. So Tyler Boyd could finish as a wide receiver 1 this year. I don't know. See, the only problem for me is that Tyler Boyd is sitting up behind A.J. Green. If A.J. Green was to get hurt, Tyler Boyd would probably shift into a
he would jump high-end wide receiver.
Yeah. So I love Tyler Boyd. It's a question of which guy is going to break out. They're both getting picked at 68.
Yeah,
both of them. So I think I'm going to take Tyler Boyd. I love DJ Moore, but
I thought you were going more there.
I feel like DJ Moore is going to be on the board, and we'll see in a second.
I don't think
Don't do it to me.
I don't think so. No, there he goes.
He left.
Dude, Robbie Anderson just got picked. Dang it, that was my guy.
James White got picked at 705, 706. Rest of the 7th round, Tariq Cohen, Drew Brees, Tyler Lockett, Hunter Henry, Tyreek Hill, and then 8th round start at 801, Alshon Jeffrey, Russell Wilson, Lamar Miller, DJ Moore, Evan Engram, and Robbie Anderson. So a lot of these guys, like I personally like here at 807, I like Miles Sanders. I think he has a good chance of being really good, but you're going to see a lot of wide receivers at this point. Like I like Christian Kirk. I like Dante Pettis. I like Sterling Shepard. So you're going to have some guys here, maybe a little bit too early for them, but at 807, you got to get some running backs on your team, some guys on your bench that can make sense. But for me, I'd probably go Miles Sanders here. What do you got?
I'm thinking about him, but I think him and Jordan Howard, like, they kind of scare me a little bit. I know it's kind of...
Yeah.
I don't know. That's tough. Where was Miles Sanders picked? Was he a 2nd round pick?
Yes. No.
3rd round pick?
3rd round. Early. I think it was early 3rd round, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, again, this is a part of the draft where I think it's very, very tight where you can go.
The difference for me between Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders is the fact that Jordan Howard is there was a report today that said that he's been practicing pass catching and that he's gotten better. But he's not a pass catching back. Miles Sanders is an all-around back, so they're saying that he can come in and be that guy. I don't expect him to do anything this year. The only reason why I would take him is for the chance that he might be something. He might get the starting role.
He's a rookie too, which kind of concerns me. We're down to you paused it. Never mind. I was gonna say we're down to 10 seconds left. He's a rookie, which does concern me, honestly. Yeah. I mean, I'm usually all in on rookies, but when you have like Jordan Howard ahead of him too,
rookie running backs, you mean?
Yeah, yes, that's very important.
We'll clarify that.
Rookie running backs, I'm usually all in on. Yeah. But I don't know, man. Jordan Howard, I think, is going to be the starting back there, at least when the season starts. I think Miles Sanders will eventually be the guy. I don't know if it's going to be week 1 though. Which is kind of ironic considering the guy I'm actually going to take. I was very tempted to say Carson Wentz here because I love him, but I know you're going to hate me if I do that.
No quarterbacks or tight ends.
So I'm actually looking at a different running back here. You want to help me out? Mr. Penny, baby.
Rashad Penny.
So the Seahawks ran the ball the most in the
league
last year, and they just lost Mike Davis. So it's between him and Chris Carson on the team. Yeah. And I think, they used a first-round – I believe it was a first-round pick.
It was a late first-round pick. It was a pick before Sony Michel.
I mean, they used a first-round pick on him. They want him to be the guy eventually. It wasn't last year. I think there's a chance it could be this year.
Fire. Chris Carson was undrafted.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Carson's awesome, but I think there is a chance. And when you're drafting in the 8th, 9th, 7th round – and you're drafting your bench, you're kind of looking at this. Is there a chance for this guy to break out, as you said? And I think Penny definitely has that.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Your guy.
Pick 808, Kareem Hunt, 809, Allen Robinson, 810, N'Keal Harry. A little high for N'Keal Harry, rookie wide receiver. I wouldn't even draft him in the draft at all, but he has potential to do something. He might get you like 2 games. Jordan Howard at 901, Latavius Murray 902, and Vance McDonald at 903. So
That's
far we got a lot of tight ends coming off the board.
Yeah.
But for me, this pick, we were just talking about this guy. There's also some other players that I'm kind of interested in.
I'd take, if I'm you in this spot, and this is why we're co-owners of team, I would take Carson Wentz here.
We'll see what happens.
I think he's an elite sleeper quarterback, considering he's going in the 9th round.
Right.
And I think he could probably finish around 5 or 6. He's got that kind of upside, and there's a lot of weapons in Philly this year. I think some people are kind of sleeping on Wentz, but it's not my pick. It's yours.
So one of the guys I'm going to take, he's ADP 76. He's fallen kind of a little bit down the draft board, I think more specifically because of the news that people got today about Jordan Howard. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I want to do this.
Go ahead.
I'm going to take Miles Sanders. I was thinking about taking Christian Kirk, but I'll take Miles Sanders. You never know. You can never have too many running backs. But in the 9th round, Miles Sanders, if he turns into something, then awesome. If he ends up sucking, then whatever.
Yeah.
I think if he ends up if we get out of training camp and they say Miles Sanders has the starting role,
right?
I'm feeling good about that. If he does not have the starting role, this guy's probably going to go undrafted. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
You saw what Philip Lindsay did to Royce Freeman last year.
That is true. That's a good point.
And so I think Miles Sanders could do that. And he was actually drafted. He wasn't Philip Lindsay, so it's a little bit easier for him. But it just depends. Jordan Howard for 2 years in a row was an RB1. Last year he was RB20, I think. So I don't know how much he can actually provide for the team. He got 250 plus carries last year, Jordan Howard. Wow. And he had 3.7 yards a carry, which is bad. And it's like, if they want to buy in on that, feel free. But like, to me, Miles Sanders is the rookie guy who's going to come in and produce. Lately, I've kind of grown towards Miles Sanders, as in the past, where I've been like, why would people want to go after him? He's probably going to be a guy that ends up on my waiver wire, but
it's cool though that we both got the guys that we wanted there in back-to-back rounds. So.
Right.
I
wanted Penny.
Yes, that's true. So now it's my turn to pick.
Yeah.
Will Fuller just went. Jarrett McKinnon, Chicago Bears defense. Darrell Henderson, a guy who could be the starter. Deontay Pettis, is that
my boy?
Your guy, San Francisco receiver.
Royce Freeman, I wanted
Christian Kirk, a guy you wanted.
Yep.
DK Metcalf and David Njoku, who I was kind of thinking about taking if he was here. Marvin Jones, Corey Davis.
I was hoping he'd fall here.
And Shady McCoy. How the mighty have fallen. So, a name I did not say who just got picked, who I wanted you to take last round, is still on the board here in
Why do you think I
10.
waited, boss?
And my guy, who I was just loving and talking about, is still here, Carson Wentz. And that's the guy I'm going to take. We finally take a quarterback. This is why you wait on quarterbacks. Yeah. For this reason right here. And I know you want to stream quarterbacks, which you can do, honestly, especially this year.
I'm streaming quarterbacks.
But even if you just wait till the 10th round, I just got a guy who I think is probably going to finish in the top 6. Yeah. And I got him in round 10. You know, you don't have to spend a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick.
I mean, this is, and I won't even judge you for taking a quarterback here, just because after round 10 is where I'm starting to look at quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And Carson Wentz has been going consistently in the 10th or 11th round. Last year I drafted him in like the 5th or 6th round, and that's why I'm never drafting quarterbacks early again. But I don't mind this pick. I would, if David Njoku had made it 4 picks,
I would have taken
Njoku over that guy.
Yep.
But we're sitting here and Carson Wentz is a good look for the team. Sterling Shepard went 10-08, 10-09. Emmanuel Sanders, Jared Cook 10-10, 11-1. Geronimo Allison, Mecole Hardman 11-2, and then Jared Goff at 11-3.
Who I also like.
So I'm sitting here trying to figure out my pick. I don't know. There's some guys. I think for us, you have to kind of look. You have to start looking at the tight end position.
Yeah.
And when I look at the tight end position, you have T.J. Hawkinson 127. You have Rob Gronkowski 129. I don't know why anyone is continuing to draft Rob Gronkowski.
You got to take Gronk here, bro.
Trey Burton, the news we just talked about earlier, at 130. Delaney Walker 131. Austin Hooper 131. And so you got some of these guys. Hooper and Trey Burton are two guys that I keep an eye on, but you can wait till the 14th round to get them.
At this point.
So now I shift my thought to the wide receiver position, and I shift my thoughts to the running back position. Ronald Jones is an intriguing option.
He is.
I like Ronald Jones, but I think what I'm going to do here is go with a guy that I've been loving on lately quite a bit, and his name is James Washington. James Washington is hopefully the second wide receiver with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's basically hopefully stepping into the role of Juju Smith-Schuster. If he's not going to get that production, right?
Right.
So we can back off on that. But he could finish. This guy was drafted with the mentality that he was supposed to be their next Antonio Brown. It wasn't actually Juju. I think he was a second-round pick. And so James Washington is a guy that's talented. He's got the same build as Antonio Brown. He's got the same hands. He's basically Antonio Brown, a second-round pick that got outbeat by Juju last year.
Yeah.
So I think for me, James Washington coming into that second role, he could be a mid to low-end wide receiver 2. That's a hot take, but he could be a mid to low-end wide receiver 2 this year. And in round 11, that's pretty good. You get that guy. He's somebody that you could, if say he goes off in 5 straight weeks and gets like 15 to 20 fantasy points, say that happens, right? You can sell him. You can get rid of him and say, okay, this guy, I'm gonna trade him to get, a better wide receiver or a better running back,
right?
And so I would use him for that. And then there's always the off chance that, God forbid, Juju gets hurt and James Washington has to step into that role. A lot of people are saying Donta Moncrief is going to have this role. We've talked about Donta Moncrief for 3 years now, so we can back up on Moncrief. He hasn't done anything. So James Washington is their number 2. If he produces like their number 2, like Juju did last year, you got more than enough in the 11th round.
That's true. So now we're in the
12th round.
The last 2 rounds, I think, are less of a crapshoot than rounds 12 and 13.
Yeah.
These 2 rounds, I think, are absolutely filled with complete hot garbage. But so I'm picking here in the 12th round.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm not afraid to really take a risk at all. We've already we've established our team. We've already pretty much established our bench as well.
Oh, you're going to take a hot take is what you're going to do.
So that is kind of, setting up for a hot take. Yeah. I'm going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy G.
Now, here's why.
Jimmy G.
I have Carson Wentz, right?
Okay.
So I'm not really too worried about the quarterback position.
But you like the quarterbacks. You drafted all the quarterbacks.
But we're done with quarterbacks. Okay, we're done. Jimmy Garoppolo here in the 12th round. Now, I know I think he was going 13th, 14th round.
Right.
So it's a little bit off the board. Garoppolo is a guy, though, who I think has tremendous upside. And if he doesn't work out, that's fine. You took him in the 12th round. If he works out and is what we thought he was going to be last year and is a top 6 or 7 fantasy quarterback,
right,
and even top 5, like you just took this guy in the 12th round, and now you can trade him if you want and get an elite player, maybe even a star tight end that you didn't draft.
If Jimmy G turns into the next Patrick Mahomes, which is unlikely, but if he ends up being a top 5 quarterback,
and maybe Carson Wentz, has a bad year, and you're like, oh crap, why did I take Carson Wentz in the 10th round?
Right.
But Jimmy Garoppolo ends up being very good, so that's why I think it's very good to take a risky quarterback in the 12th and 13th round.
Yeah, definitely. 12-08 in the rest of the 12th round, Los Angeles Rams defense, Austin Eckler, D.D. Westbrook. Moving into the 13th, we have Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, and Deshaun Jackson all going off the board. We get to our pick at 13-4, and we have 2 more rounds to go. So our last 2 rounds we reserve for kickers and defenses.
I generally we need a tight end.
Which means we need a tight end, and that sucks because I was going to take Curtis Samuel. We'll go tight endless. I'm not worried about it. We do have 2 guys on the board that that are still here from when we talked about them 2 rounds earlier.
Yeah.
And that's Trey Burton and Austin Hooper. I'm going to go Austin Hooper.
Yep, that's the guy I would have went to.
I don't want to go off recent news of saying that the injury or the hernia surgery is going to bother Trey Burton, but I just like Austin Hooper's upside. He's in a better offense, and I think they're going to throw the ball a crap ton this year. So I think with Austin Hooper, you get a lot of breakout potential. If he ends up stinking, then you either go trade for a guy or stream like you normally would. But that rounds out the team pretty well with Austin Hooper in the last round. Who knows? Maybe he turns into this year's George Kittle.
Ooh. So now 14th round, 15th round, you're on defense kicker. What I do at defense is typically I end up streaming defenses. So who I pick here really doesn't matter. But I would
I feel the same way. I'm like
same. We do the same with kickers too. Honestly,
a smart thing to do with your defenses is at the draft. You already have the schedule out. You already understand.
Correct. That's where I was going. I was just gonna say what I would do with the defense. The little research I do is I would just to see who has the easiest schedule.
Yep.
And I haven't done that research yet. So I'm completely
take the best guy off the board.
So honestly,
do it.
What I do here is I was just gonna say I would take the Texans because of J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney. I think they'll get to the quarterback. They'll get some sacks for you. But typically with defenses here, I would just kind of look at the easiest schedule and just try to base your draft pick on that.
Right. That's kind of what I would go for especially if you're streaming defenses.
Because defenses change throughout the whole year.
Right.
The guys that are usually in the defenses that are in the top 5, usually only like 2 of those 5 defenses stay in the top 5.
Right. And so for me, like the way I kind of look at this, I held on to the Houston Texans D, by the way, for way too long last year. But if you're streaming defenses, go look at week 1, figure out what the suckiest offense is, and then just play that defense, like draft that defense. Unless obviously you have a huge
your draft's like now.
Yeah, you're drafted, and then you have June, 17 different, defenses come off the board. Then you'll figure it out later. But I would do that, and then the next thing I would do is look at kickers. Now, kickers are interesting. I hate them. I kind of want to get rid of kickers just because they kind of beat me in a playoff game last year. But
yeah, that was rough.
Regardless,
it's okay. It saved you from losing to me in the championship.
Yeah, that's true. So for me, when I look at kickers, there's a lot of different things you can look at. You have to look at over-unders. You have to look at the talent on the team. And one of the guys that I've actually kind of been looking at lately who hasn't really been a person that a lot of people have been talking about, but it's the new kicker for the Cleveland Browns.
Ooh.
And with the Cleveland Browns having a high-powered offense, right, it's going to cause this particular kicker to most likely jump into if they produce and score as much as people expect them to. I think this guy will jump into like that Mason Crosby type role, and score a lot of fantasy points just kicking the ball. So I'm going to take this guy named Craig Joseph from the Cleveland Browns. I saw him a couple days ago, and I'm like, that's actually a smart pick because you're getting the Cleveland Browns offense, and when they score, this guy's going to score. So that's what you kind of want to go after. But kickers suck taking because I'll probably drop him in like 1 week.
Yeah.
So to round out our team, we have Christian McCaffrey, Odell Beckham, Leonard Fournette, Stefon Diggs, David Montgomery, Chris Godwin, Tyler Boyd, Rashad Penny, Miles Sanders, Carson Wentz, James Washington, Jimmy G, Austin Hooper, Houston Texans D, and Greg Joseph, the kicker. Relatively decent draft.
I was going to say good, not great, but good.
Not great. But this is like the first time that I've done a mock draft with like the 4th pick, believe it or not. I've been doing it like 7, 8, 9 in that area. So, and then 2 because of, me picking it too. But so it's a decent team. There's definitely some things we could have done differently, but in terms of like what you had in the positions that you were in, it was pretty good. It's always fun to draft.
Oh, yeah, big time.
It's always fun.
This makes me want to do a mock draft. I honestly do think we have a good core, though. McCaffrey and Fournette, to me, is one of the best duos. And if you look at other teams and where they picked and guys they picked, I think we probably have right there with the best running back duos out of anybody. And we have Odell Beckham.
Definitely.
So I think that is big. We have some risky guys that could pay off. David Montgomery, Chris Godwin, Tyler Boyd. And I think Carson Wentz is a good quarterback. Like we had good picks. Could have been. It wasn't a perfect draft, but it was good.
Yep. That does it for our first mock draft of 2019. We are anticipating to do 4 of these mock drafts as we go along in the off season. We're going to do them in different locations, sometimes varying in difficulty. 4 is just kind of like the easiest pick ever. So
it is pretty easy.
Actually, I think this year it's probably like 106, but we'll do picks at different locations so you can kind of understand. We'll definitely do the turn pick because I think a lot of people always have questions on what to do at 101 or 110. And so we'll try to figure that out. But be sure to listen on Thursday as we discuss similar ADPs and players who are kind of difficult questions. Like, what do you do with the Rams wide receivers? What do you do with them? You'll find out next week. You got any closing thoughts for us, boss?
I'm just happy we took McCaffrey, but I wish we took Mahomes too.
I don't even talk to you Thursday, fantasy.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.